it is time to read one of my most anticipated releases of the entire year, and that is Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. Oh my gosh. So Rebecca Ross's writing is some of my favorite to read. The Divine Rivals duet, which was, oh, I forgot what the actual duet is, but it's Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows. That duet is one of my favorites that I've read by her. I fell in love with that kind of like historical fantasy setting and that romance. It really took me by surprise. I think I read it at the, was it in 2023? I think it was, oh, was it last year? Might have been in 2024 when I read it, because I read Divine Rivals right before Ruthless Vows came out and I loved it. So when I found out that Wild Reverence, okay, was set in kind of the same world, you do not have to read that duology before reading this, but Rebecca Ross said you might pick up on some of like the little things. And I will tell you, I don't remember like details of Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows, like some of the lore. I remember the love story that I love so much, but I am so excited to read this and then maybe, just maybe, reread Divine Rivals and maybe Ruthless Vows. I don't know. I haven't decided that. I'm so excited for this one. I love this cover. I went to a Barnes & Noble's to get this book in particular because I wanted a physical copy because it has this beautiful character art on it, okay? I go to Barnes & Noble so excited. A couple days after release, this book is sold out. Don't get me wrong, fantastic for Rebecca Ross, but for me, I was like, damn, I really wanted this book. But anyway, I'm so excited to finally dive into this. I officially got last night 37 pages into this book, so I'm on chapter 5, and it's a very different than Divine Rivals. So Divine Rivals, Ruthless Vows, that is more of like a historical fantasy. I'm getting the vibes that this is truly like more of an adult fantasy, maybe even adult fantasy romance. I don't know how much of the romance is like in this book, if it's more of a subplot or not, but I will say it's very interesting when we dive into this book. We see our female character Matilda. You see her being born from her mother Zinnia, who is the goddess of, she's the goddess of winter, fire, and something, and cunning, I think it is. And I love the kind of like imagery of our female character being born. The god of war Bade is with her because they're all part of like the same realm. Now I will say, I'm listening to the audiobook and reading along. The beginning of this book explains the world and the gods and the kind of like lore behind everything in a very unique way that doesn't feel info dumpy. And I personally really love that. So like I said, we see our female character Matilda, see her being born. You see that her mother takes her to the matriarch of the realm that she lives in, and she basically reads her constellation, and with her constellation, that's how you can tell what kind of magic, how prevalent the magic is, and how many gifts she has. And she, because you see that she is born of two goddesses, like a goddess and a god, you don't really necessarily know who her father is. I have a theory based on some of the hints, and they're very, very like in your face hints, okay? And you see that she is the herald of the gods, so she's very swift. You see her growing up. You see that Bade has taken a salt vow to her that basically protects her. And it's very interesting because he's trying to train her. She's trying to like learn about her allies in this realm. I love Rebecca Ross's writing. It's like being transported to another world, if that makes sense. Like, her writing is so beautiful. Yes, it's like flowy and flowery, but I personally love that. And when I'm reading something like this, so just know that if you've never read a Rebecca Ross book, you can start with this one. Just know her writing is like that. I'm loving it. I cannot wait to sit down and read this tonight. The audiobook is really good. I cannot wait to get farther in. It's a little bit longer. It's like 500 pages. Yeah, 500 pages. I don't want to look at the last page because I always spoil myself. I'm pretty sure this is a standalone. I could be totally wrong, but this book is so gorgeous. I can't wait to see more of our female character Matilda. I don't know what is going to be a spoiler, so I don't know how much I'm going to say going forward, but I wanted to give you like the setup of this book. It's very interesting. The lore is super interesting. It's not really like a fantasy book or fantasy romance book that I've read before, so I'm very, very excited. I love the talk about constellations, and that's how you kind of get your magic, your power, and it's kind of like told from when you're born. And I can't wait to see everything that comes from this, like this love story that is supposed to be epic, but also just some of the secrets that we've already kind of started to uncover, or our female character Matilda has seen, but she doesn't understand what they are. I'm very excited. So sorry for the long intro, but I'm ready to sit down and read this. I'm so excited. I just realized this. It says true love is more divine than any ruthless god. This makes me want to reread Divine Rivals, so I may be picking that up after this because we are mood reading through September, so come along with me while we read one of my most anticipated releases and see what we get up to in this reading vlog. So I'm officially done with Act 1 in this book. So I will say that the book is broken up by Act 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so Act 1 is 26% into the book. That's how far I am. And I don't read with the Just Check, but I put it on so I don't lose it like once I'm done reading. So I'm listening and reading along. I love to do that, especially with the first like chunk of the book, whatever that may be. Only because I feel like it does a really good job. Like, for me, immersive reading, when I'm like listening to the audiobook and reading along, it makes me focus on the words that I'm reading. It's very immersive and I personally love it. Some people do not like immersive reading. I personally do like it. I will say by the first act, you have a very, very, very good grasp of the realms, of the world, of the lore, of the gods and goddesses, what the constellations mean, and all of that stuff. I love Rebecca Ross's writing. I said that in the intro of this vlog, but what I love about this book in particular is I personally don't think I've read a magic system. Not really, I don't know if I would call it a magic system, but like the lore, the hierarchy, the way the constellations, like what they mean. I don't think I've read anything like this. So basically, you do have gods and goddesses. You have the mortal realm, you have the underlings, and then you have skyward. So it's basically like skyward, mortal realm, underlings. So if that makes sense. Now, I don't know if she took inspiration from like Greek mythology or Roman mythology or anything like that. There's obviously like God of War. He's obviously like big and broody and stuff like that. You see that he's there when our female character first is born. But what I like about this is that the constellation part of it, when you were born, constellations, if you're a god or a divinity, like if you have any divinity, when you're born, in this world, well, in the underling world, it is the goddess of death who does it, who will read your constellation and basically will show how many points you have in your constellation. And it literally means points, like how many points make up your constellation. And that determines how much magic you have and like what your power is and stuff like that. So our female character, Matilda, you see that she is born with 6, which is right in the middle. So she's pretty, like it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, you know what? Let me just make sure, because I always reference it because it's in the front of the book when it's talked about. And I think it's really helpful. So you have, 3, 4, 5 point constellations are the low court, or divines who are born with magic that they can draw upon. And then the middle court is 6, 7, 8 point constellations. And then the high court is 9, 10, 11. And you have those 3 courts in both the skyward and the underlings. God or goddess from the skyward can go to the mortal realm, and then god and goddesses of the underling can go to the mortal realm as well. But they can't go from a skyward to the underlings. Like they can't cross those things. And I find that extremely interesting. Now you see Matilda, she can do that because she is born of both a skyward god and an underling goddess. So you figure out who her father is in this book, but it's like in the first act, I should say. But there's given so many clues at the beginning, you kind of know right off the bat because it's described like what he's the god of, and it references the beginning of the book, so it's easy to tell. I really am enjoying this. I'm enjoying the lore. I'm enjoying everything. Now, Matilda in this book in the first act, I think she's like 16 years old. When Act 1 ends, I think it time jumps in Act 2. So I don't know how long the time jump is, but I'm really excited. We've met what I think is gonna be our hero. His name is Vincent. That I guess is the romance that Matilda has is with Vincent. I'm enjoying this. I'm devouring this. I feel like I can talk about just Act 1 so much. There's a lot with this book too, like just in Act 1 of people killing other gods and goddesses for their constellation points because they can take in that magic and like consume it basically. So if a god of cunning is killed, the god who killed that goddess or god takes on that power, which is really interesting. So there's like this whole interesting hierarchy, but also like who is really your ally, who is really against you. It is so interesting, and I'm like fully immersed in this world, and all I want to do is not work and not do anything but read this book. So literally by Act 1, you will have a whole understanding of everything lore-wise, and I feel like now in Act 2, we're really gonna dive into the mortal realm. I feel like Matilda's gonna go to the mortal realm, I think, and that's when we really get to know Vincent more than just seeing his dreams like Matilda saw in Act 1. So I am so ready to sit down and listen to this. I'm gonna start cooking dinner and I'm gonna start listening to Act 2. Act 2 is about 100 pages, less than 100 pages. So I probably will finish this tonight. And then Act 3, since there's 5 acts, I don't think the acts are like exactly the same page count. I think it's obviously when there's a turning point in the book. Yeah, Act 3 seems like it's a little bit longer. Yeah, Act 3 is a little over 100 pages. And then Act 4 and 5 are basically the last 150 pages. So I'm very excited. I don't know how long it's gonna take me. I do have to go out of town. I have to see my brother and then I'll be back. It's my husband's birthday on Sunday, so I don't know if I'll be reading then too. He's sitting behind the camera. So yeah, I'm just devouring this, but I really wanna finish this before I go to Montana. You guys are seeing this when I'm in Montana for a book signing, so yeah. So far, my most anticipated release of the year is going very, very, very good. And I really hope I don't jinx myself. I'm gonna knock on wood. Hello, I have an update on Wild Reverence. So it has been actually like a decent couple of days since I've updated you. Part of the reason is I got like really sick. I was supposed to actually go see my brother and I couldn't even go because I got like just really sick and I didn't want to get him sick. I didn't want to get my parents sick, all of that stuff. So if I still sound a little sick, that's why. But I actually have struggled with a decent chunk of this book. And I kind of wanted to sit on my thoughts a little bit and talk out what is happening, why maybe that's happening, like is it me, is it the book, all of that. So I'm officially like almost done with the book. I'm on Act 5. So I've read Acts 2, 3, and 4. I think that's what I've read. I wanted to update you after Act 3, but like my thoughts after Act 3 were I'm a little bored and I don't really know like what else to say other than that. So I will say with Act 4, it's gotten a little bit better. The middle chunk of this book is not necessarily boring in the way that like, oh, I just wanted to skim, I just wanted to have this book be over with. I was still very much invested in the story and very much invested in our female character Matilda and her story and what's going on. But it is very much a, what's the word, like the gods are playing these games and what are the games and you're trying to figure all of that out and all of this stuff like that. So like you see certain gods have went into exile, certain gods have come out of exile when she is still called by Dacre in the Underling. He is still Lord of the Underling. So when there's court, she's supposed to go. So she goes after, I think, like 10 years or something like that in Act 2 or 3. I wish that there was more substance with Vincent and Matilda. Like, obviously, they had this connection from when they were really young. They've seen each other. Well, Matilda has seen Vincent and his dreams, and Vincent knows, like, who Matilda is. Doesn't know her name in particular, but, like, they have this, like, bond that's forged at a really young age. So when they finally meet after I don't know, like years, like 10 plus or 13 years, I think it is the last time they see each other, he is struggling with something and she never answers. It's because she's not in the Underling anymore because something happened with her mother. Like, there's all of these things that go into play of why. And every time you think, oh, like, this might be the conflict, it's not. It gets resolved really easily. Like, Vincent's like, oh, that makes sense. Okay, I want you to be my wife. I want you to do this. I want you to do that. So it's interesting, and like, yes, I don't doubt that their relationship is there. I just felt like the middle chunk of the book was a little too long, only because it's just really describing like the games that the gods play, like all of that. It's like the god of spring is helping Vincent's uncle, who wants to basically coup him, like overthrow him and take the lord title back, and you know, all of this stuff like that. You have a neighboring kingdom that you think is supposed to be helpful, but they've been kind of manipulated by another god. Like, this is not any spoilers or anything like that. It's just as like the games that gods are playing, you know what I mean? And you're trying to like figure all of that out while you're reading. I don't necessarily mind it. That's just not my favorite thing to read. And I think that's why I found this part, like that chunk, particularly boring. Now, some of my favorite characters that we've met in this book, I really like Matilda. I think she's interesting. There is a certain part that comes up where I'm like, that's a little bit too convenient. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't want to say it because that is a spoiler. But I have felt that a couple of times with her. And then I love Bade. Bade is probably one of my all-time favorite characters. He is the god of war. He is like the father figure to Matilda. Like I said at the beginning, he is there when she is born and kind of like takes this salt vow to her for her mom. Her mom's like, I will, you know, grant you use of my magic for X amount of time. You have to do a salt vow to my daughter and teach her how to fight, how to defend herself, all of this stuff. And it's interesting because like I'm looking back, I'm like, did her mom know something at such a young age? Like, all of these things are happening with all the gods and goddesses. So it's not necessarily a bad book. I'm just like, it was a little slow. And this is a 500-page book, don't get me wrong, like it's huge. And I remember reading Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows, and those are split up into really interesting points, like where the book ends and stuff like that, and where the second book picks up. And I felt like this middle part was, some of it may be like kind of like unnecessary, like filler, but I didn't mind it, if that makes sense. Like, it's not like I'm hating this book in the slightest. It's just not like wowing me. And yeah, so I basically have this much left. So I'm definitely gonna finish this today. And I found some things out about Divine Rivals, like the gods and stuff that are in there. So I will be talking about in like the next clip, when I wrap up finishing this book, I will be talking about Divine Rivals and how this book kind of plays into Divine Rivals, and like the not important parts, but just like, do you need to read this book before you read that book, if that makes sense. And I definitely have some interesting thoughts about that. Like, so stay tuned. In my next clip, I just have to film a video really quickly, but that is all I have for this update. I'm gonna go so I can film my video, and I will update you later tonight. Hello. It is later in the day. My hair is up. I was cooking dinner and I was finishing this book. I have some thoughts, like overall thoughts. I don't necessarily have a rating right now. I want to land at like a 4-star. And I say that because I really, really, really appreciate Rebecca Ross's writing. I love her writing. I love her style of writing. It really works for me. With that being said, I felt that this story was slightly slacking in the, oh, what's it called? Like, heart, with the angst, with, oh, what's the word? Like, I try with every single book to be like, what is the point of this book? What do I personally get out of this book, okay? And I really felt like this was just an introduction to the way the world works, if that makes sense, like with the gods and how they play games with humans and how they choose certain things and all that stuff. And yes, at the end of the day, it was Matilda and Vincent's story, and that in of itself was fine. I thought it was fine, but I didn't feel like it was otherworldly, if that makes sense. So I was slightly disappointed with that. Like, it was going so well because I was very intrigued with Act 1. I love how the setup was. And then Act 2, after like the middle of Act 2, it kind of got really slow, and the rest of Act 2, 3, and 4 was really slow for me. So Act 5 was fine. It was just like a wrap-up conclusion. My favorite characters are still Bade. I love Bade so much. I mean, I do appreciate Matilda, but I just feel like there was like something missing with this. That core romance, if that makes sense. Now, I know a lot of people have said a lot of things for where does Wild Reverence play into Divine Rivals? So I'm going to tell you. So with Divine Rivals, this whole story, this whole premise, and this is just for the duology. So you see our female character in Divine Rivals, she is in possession of this typewriter, and she finds out while she's working at this like Gazette, like this newspaper thing, at 18 years old, she can send letters like underneath the door, and it slips away to the other person who has the typewriter. Now she thinks that is like she can send her brother letters. Doesn't work like that. It goes to Roman, and Roman is our hero in this case. Start out kind of enemies in this book, but it turns into this like a soul encompassing, like I just remember reading this book and thinking the romance, even though it's technically a YA duology, the romance being so beautiful, the romance being so sweepingly romantic. Like the second book, there's scenes that live rent-free in my head about the hero, and I just felt like it was kind of lacking in Wild Reverence. Now, the gods and goddesses you see in Wild Reverence are the gods that supposedly, quote-unquote, wake up in this book. And the whole war is between Enva, which is the goddess of music and stuff like that, and Dacre. And Dacre is the goddess of, oh my god, he's the lord of the underling. Oh, he's the god of healing. So that comes in. So basically, there's these two sides of the war in Divine Rivals, and one god is on one side, one god is on the other, and that's Dacre versus Enva. And Enva is actually Skyward. She comes from that, but you see in Wild Reverence, actually, these are where the like main points are. You see in Wild Reverence that Dacre and Enva get married, so it's a marriage between a goddess of the underling, or a god of the underling, and a goddess of Skyward. So that is the two gods that are warring in this book. You come to find out on each side. Now, in this book, at the end, in the epilogue, you see there's a chapter from Enva's perspective and how Matilda kind of plays a part in the creation of the typewriters that are used in this book. So it is very interesting. I do like it. I don't think in the beginning of this book, because I don't think I physically read this, it doesn't have anything about the gods in this book, but Enva is the god of music. The goddess, I should say. She's the goddess of music. Yeah, like, I find it extremely interesting, like, this book, and I like the lore of the gods. Do I think you need to read this book before you read Divine Rivals? No. But I think that if you have read Divine Rivals, you're definitely going to pick up some stuff in Wild Reverence, which I did like. I liked knowing the behind-the-scenes stuff, because you got to know the gods in Divine Rivals and in the duology, specifically in Ruthless Vows, but it wasn't, like, as much as this. So I did kind of like that. I just felt like the romance in this part was lacking a little bit, and that kind of makes me sad, because this is literally one of my most anticipated releases. So I want to land at a 4-star, but I feel like I'm being generous with that, because I just hope that this was going to be so much more. And, like, I still enjoyed the story. Like, I still really enjoyed the audiobook. Like, I loved her writing. I just felt like the story itself, like, the core story was lacking. I liked all the side stuff. So, yeah. Like, I would say if you're looking for, like, a sweeping romance between two people who will literally do anything to get back to each other, this has that. A little bit. Divine Rivals is so much more. So I'll say that. But yeah, that is my little how these two connect, if you were wondering. But that is my vlog for reading Divine Rivals. And yeah, I really hope you enjoyed it. I usually don't do vlogs for just one book, but I had a lot of thoughts about just Wild Reverence in and of itself. And so I definitely wanted to just spend more time talking about that. So I really hope you enjoyed this style of vlog. You can let me know in the comments down below. If you did, I would love to know. If you've made it this far and you want to let me know, leave me a mail emoji with the heart, the envelope with the heart, because our female character Matilda is the herald. She can deliver messages throughout all of the realms. So yeah, leave me that little letter with the heart emoji in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching this reading vlog. I really hope you enjoyed. Make sure you like and subscribe for more content from me. As always, I hope you're living a novel life, and I will see you in my next one. Bye guys!